Welcome to Pioneers in Payments, where payments experts share their insights. Now, here's our host, Donna Blum.
Hello, everyone. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Elizabeth McQuerry from Glenbrook Partners. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Thanks, Donna. It's really nice to be here.
Well, I'm so glad you could join us. Elizabeth, to get us started, would you mind sharing a little bit with our audience about your background in the payments industry and the work that you do at Glenbrook Partners?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm one of the partners here at Glenbrook. We are a payment strategy consulting firm, deeply focused in all things payments, different payment systems, different, we serve all of the stakeholders in the ecosystem at one time or the other. And I primarily focus on two topics today, or, in general. That is all things instant real-time payments and kind of global or payments outside of the US. So there's an intersection there. But I came to Glenbrook having worked in the Federal Reserve retail payments for 10 years on the global build out of the ACH. So Fed Global, as many people would recognize it. So that gave me I went into the deep end of payments from the beginning and have kind of stayed there. It's such an exciting space.
It is, especially today with all of the changes and innovation in the industry. Well, Elizabeth, my first question for you is, we were really trying to boil this down for payments professionals, give them some really valuable insights and advice. And so I wanted to ask you, what do you see is the most notable trend in the payments industry today?
Good question. Of course, very difficult to say there's one single thing, but if I were to kind of sum it up, I'll give a little bit of an analogy. Here in the firm, we sometimes ask ourselves, is this the golden age of payments? Are we at that are we going to level off and just kind of do growth as opposed to transformation of different aspects of payments? And I think the answer is fundamentally, it is by far the golden age of payments. We are nowhere near there yet. And in fact, the pace of change, the breadth of that change, as well as the opportunity in front of us it's fundamental right now. I've never seen, so much opportunity out there. And, we've got to decide where to spend our time and resources, right? It is wherever we sit in the payments chain.
So you're talking about opportunities. So this next question is going to be a bit challenging, but what do you see is the greatest opportunity for organizations that process payments today?
Because there's so much, I think the most important thing that we could do is any type of entity is to understand where our opportunities are, right? It may not be the traditional, right? There's a lot of maturity in some aspects of payments. One could easily say that ACH is a mature payment system, but have you looked at the growth numbers lately? It is anything but stagnant, right? And what's happening with same day ACH is changing so much, and what some of the fintechs are doing on top, if you will, of ACH. I know it's sometimes called enhanced, enriched ACH. And there's just so much opportunity there. But every payment system you look at, and all the potentially new ones that are coming through crypto and other digital currencies, what is your opportunity in this space, right? And there's a lot of, you need to kind of sit down and figure that out, because the answer may not be just what you're doing today.
Right. In fact, usually it's not what you're doing today, right? There's got to be some changes, but deciding what the path forward is can be challenging.
Yeah, choices to be made, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, so we talked about the greatest opportunity. What would you say is the biggest challenge today for organizations that are processing payments?
Yeah, of course, I think when there's so much opportunity, it's easy to be overwhelmed,
Mhm.
um, and almost do nothing, right? Wait for the change to, if you will, solidify itself so you don't have to make those choices. The market sort of makes them for you. And of course, that's a strategy, right? Maybe not the best one, but it served many people. But I think, there are challenges with the legacy payment infrastructure at most banks and companies for that matter, right? And it's easy to say, okay, I don't know how to upgrade or I don't know what to do. So I'm just going to wait until everything changes or, these upgrades kind of finally make their way to me.
Mhm.
I think that's a real mistake, right? We need to find our path forward and address it, of course, and take that by the horns, if you will. And we may make mistakes along the way, right? We may want to course correct, but I think the agility of technology and even things that people who still have a legacy system can do, there's a lot, right, that can be done short of replacing a whole system and everything connected to it.
Right. Yeah, so I would say that really what we want to try to help payments professionals avoid is analysis paralysis or just that deer caught in the headlights type of
Yeah.
thing where I don't know where to go from here. There's a lot of help out there available to them, and I just want to encourage payments professionals to reach out and get that help. There are some early adopters who maybe are willing to share
Mhm.
their successes and what they've learned through the process. So and I know organizations such as Glenbrook Partners helps with that too. I don't know why I keep stumbling on partners, but I do. Anyways, so my last question for you today, Elizabeth, is if you had to pick like your silver bullet piece of advice and leave our audience with one great takeaway from this brief conversation, what would that be?
That's going to be a hard one to end on because I don't think there is a silver bullet. But that's not to despair, right? I think there's many good opportunities out there, and you just have to decide which ones are for you or which ones to prioritize. And that's the challenge, right? So of course, we'd love it if people came to Glenbrook to let us support that journey to defining what those, your best opportunities are. But there's so many other, I think, great resources that one can also tap into. I just went to the NACHA payments conference for the first time in person, right, in a few years. And that was an amazing conference. You could learn a lot going to that across payment systems. It's not just ACH, right?
Right.
I think, another organization which I'm passionate about is the U.S. Faster Payments Council.
Hmm.
And I was delighted to see that BHMI became a member, right?
Yes.
And Glenbrook's also a member. We also support the Faster Payments Council with some thought leadership, right? But we continue our membership just the same because we think that entities like this, which are helping, find solutions for, all range of moving the payments industry forward, of course, focused around real-time instant payments in their case, but, otherwise, there's no one responsible for doing that, right? We don't have a NACHA to be the real-time payment system administrator. We have multiple payment system administrators, and that can also be overwhelming to many financial institutions to just think, okay, well, do I need to do it all times however many number of providers or payment systems that my customers want to use? Or are there entities out there that can help me simplify that? And I think the answer is yes. And that number I expect to be growing in the near future because we've got FedNow coming. And
Right.
I think that will be a real catalyst to get a number of institutions which have been on the fence, right, about moving forward, to get them in the game. And that will be to a great relief of many of their business customers and a lot of also, I think, consumers, right? My financial institution only recently began to offer Zelle. And Zelle's just now approaching its fifth, or had its fifth anniversary.
Yes, well, it just seems like everybody's operating at a different pace, but they're all moving in a very similar direction. Everything's getting faster, right? So,
Yeah.
well, I wanted to make sure before we go that our audience knows how to learn more about Glenbrook Partners. And so I was hoping perhaps you would share with our audience how they can find out more about the services you provide.
Absolutely. We have a website that just sort of general overview, but I also encourage you to take advantage of some of the resources, just like this interview series. We have Payments on Fire podcast, and those are very well regarded and widely downloaded, right? So that at least is an indicator of how people want to have them. We know that a lot of people are listening in, and those are free, right? These are just things that we do in our spare time, if you will, to expose interesting debates, interesting products, interesting conversations around payments. We also have a daily free news digest called Payment News, right? It's a searchable database also on our website. This is a curated edition of the payments news of the world. It's things that we think are notable from, if you will, today. And mostly it's about developments. Sometimes it's also analysis. And sometimes we have blogs, payment news, also, payment views. That's also just freely available. And I have to say how surprised and delighted I was about the popularity of a recent payment views post I did on what's going on in same-day ACH. There's a lot, right? And these are free resources, right?
Yes,
And
very good.
I would also say, if someone is at the beginning of trying to make that analysis, consider attending a Glenbrook Payments Bootcamp, right? And it's remarkable. I think we've had over 30,000 people go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that existed, so I just learned something new.
Yeah, it's typically a 2 days, if you will, boot camp or crash course into all things payments and across payment systems, right? It's not just one payment system over the other. And you really get to sort of learn the industry from different perspectives, kind of the business of payments. And it's interesting also that we have people who, when they take another role in their company or move to a different company with a bit of a different focus, they come back and retake it with different eyes.
Very good. I'm going to have to look into that for myself. I would be very interested in that. Now, is that in an online format, or what does that look like?
Well, there's nothing like circumstances to get people organized. We've been wanting to do a digital version of this for some time, but we had such popularity in person because it is a better experience. There's
Yes.
no doubt. We only developed, at the beginning of the pandemic, it's when we developed the online version. Okay. And now we're getting ready. In fact, they're doing it this week. So it happens periodically, and we're getting ready to go back in, if you will, real life in September in New York.
Wonderful. Well, I'm going to look into that. Elizabeth, thank you so much for your time and your insights today. Really appreciate your contributions. And I just want to also thank everybody for watching.